Our Kids in Crisis series continues. We have reported on too many children becoming victims of gun violence and sometimes committing it themselves. So we wanted to take an in-depth look at the cycle of violence and what's being done to stop it. Yesterday, we learned how D.C. Police's new bike unit is targeting high-crime areas. And today, Jess Arnold introduces us to a center helping kids and families heal. She joins us live in studio now. Jess, good morning. This is a really important center with an important mission.
Yeah, good morning, Marcella. The center's actually in an area that's seen a lot of violence lately, too. Connecticut Avenue Northwest. That's where we saw a sniper shooting that injured 4, and a woman's boyfriend was arrested after she fell out of a window with her legs tied. Now, the Wentz Center has been working to help families heal from trauma like that for decades. So we're going to take you on an inside their struggle to reach everyone who needs them.
I smile because they're smiling in the pictures, but my heart breaks.
Kiana Wright's heart breaks for her 9-month-old daughter, Savannah, killed in 2015 through alleged child neglect at daycare, and her brother, Brian, shot to death in D.C.
My heart breaks every time I walk past this, but and they're smiling at me, and I'm smiling right back at them.
My God. My God, man. My God. The stand is just dangerous. The daycares, that happens so much. The daycares in the stand are just... Now, daycares everywhere are, sketchy. But in the stand, just like everything else, it's worse. But, my God.
That smile's been a work in progress.
Just with me sitting talking to you now shows that progress was made.
Her 3 other kids weren't quite ready to talk to us, but they've all been talking with the Wentz Center in D.C., a group that says they help people heal from life's worst moments.
The walls of this center are full of heartbreaking stories from kids, and it is almost always related to gun violence.
Which in Washington, D.C., means that it's almost always, when I say almost always, I'm talking about 99% son people. Off to the gun memorial. Okay, guys, so this is the gun memorial for Washington, D.C. All of the fatal gunshot victims in Washington, D.C. So when I tell you, it's almost all. And now, for the record, son people make up 46% of the population. But they make up 98% of the gunshot victims. Okay? Killed by a son woman. This guy right here, he's killed by a son woman. And I just want to give you a little, there goes a couple of hombritos there, but I just want to give you a little, just to let you know, when she's talking about that, she's talking about, okay? She's talking about son people, man.
A group that says they help people heal from life's worst moments.
The walls of this center are full of heartbreaking stories from kids, and it is almost always related to gun violence.
Executive Director Michelle Palmer says they give kids tools to address that trauma.
There is a lot of conversation now about this false narrative that somebody is either a perpetrator or a victim. That there's an either or, when the reality is that most oftentimes they are both.
When we're talking about resources, that kids need, what is the lack that we're seeing? What do we need more of?
We need clinicians who are trauma trained in the modalities that we know help kids heal from trauma. And that is hard. Getting trained on those is super expensive, and it's very time intensive.
And Palmer says the wait to see one can be up to 12 months. So the center set up its own training institute last year.
Because when you are in pain, to be told that you have to wait, it's intolerable.
What more should the city be doing?
Oh. Yeah.
Fund them, she says.
We see less people because we can't afford to. And so there's a lot of worrisome implications.
She says families like the Wrights might not be able to get help.
To be able to give free resources to families is really important. Who can think about money if your world has just been rocked by some type of grief or trauma? The WIN Center saves lives. The WIN Center saves lives.
Now, the center also has a summer program called Camp Forget-Me-Not. You're looking at footage there that the WIN Center gave to us. It's for kids who have had a close relative die. This past year, Michelle Palmer says the number one cause of death for those loved ones among kids, younger kids in particular, was homicide. Now, there are a lot of other groups hitting D.C. streets every day to support kids and give them opportunities like these 5.
I just want to see us get honest and sincere about this effort to save lives, because at the end of the day, our future is on the line. We're talking about young people.
I had an incredible, insightful conversation with LaShanya, who you just heard from, as well as the 5 that you see on the screen now. Now, we talked about everything from what is happening now to what needs to be done to truly change the community. All of that is coming up tomorrow. Marcella, I'll send it back to you.
All right, and a really important series that you've done this week, and we're looking forward to that story. Just
let's get to day 3 of our Kids in Crisis series. We've reported far too many children becoming victims of gun violence and sometimes committing it themselves. So we're dedicating this entire week to exploring the cycle of violence and how the D.C. community is working to end it.
Jess Arnold has been speaking with families who have lost loved ones and kids, calling for more resources. And today, let's focus on how D.C. police are responding to the uptick in violence.
Jess is live for us in Columbia Heights, where she met one of the new teams targeting high crime areas. Jess, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, they're called community-focused patrol units, essentially cops on bikes that's designed to let police engage with the community more, and they're focusing on higher crime areas like Columbia Heights here. The officers
higher crime areas like Sun communities. Areas where there are a lot of Sun people. Okay? I'm very familiar with this area, Columbia Heights. It's a war zone. It's a straight up war zone. Okay? A lot of history too, a lot of history. Clifton Terrace, you remember that? The Muslim brothers came in and had to, shut down the projects because brothers were so wild. Old ladies couldn't even sit on their stoop. Kids couldn't even play outside. So the Nation of Islam had to come in there and clean it up. This place been a war zone for decades.
and they're focusing on higher crime areas like Columbia Heights here. The officers I spoke with said they think it's working.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
DC police officer Anthony Attardo prefers a pedaling patrol. He's part of the new community-focused patrol unit DC Police launched in July 2021. 27 officers on mountain bikes cruising through some of the highest crime areas in DC. Right now, police say they're targeting Columbia Heights, Washington Highlands, and Bloomingdale, but they change as police analyze data real time.
We're able to smell, we're able to see things, we're able to hear. When we're on our bikes, we're just more approachable, okay? It gives the public a sense of comfort.
And a way to connect with kids face-to-face who are increasingly committing violence in DC as they, their friends, and family become victims.
Man, what was Guinness Book of World Records out there? It's an epic balloon release, man. My God.
The day before we met Sergeant Mohammed Ibrahim in the unit in Columbia Heights, 15-year-old Malachi Jackson was shot to death there while he was out for a run.
It's definitely a challenge, but all you can do is trying to be out there, give support, give trust.
They say it's throwing a kid a ball. Checking in with vendors on Irving Street, that'll make a difference.
Oh, this is definitely an answer. You know, every juvenile is different. We try to hear them out. We just want to have one positive interaction that they say, wow, MPD was here for me.
Police say this route kicks the summer and fall crime initiatives up a gear. Chief Robert Conti says the areas those programs focused on saw a 20% decrease in violent crime in summer 2021 and an 11% decrease in the fall.
Now, the reason that is because they have the element of surprise. They can drive through an alley and pop up on the thugs and the hoodlums and the steppers, whatever you want to call them. They can chase them down. Because when a cop is in a squad car, if you're a guy from that neighborhood, you can hit the cuts. You know all the breezeways. You know all the alleys. You know all the nooks and crannies in the neighborhood. When these guys are on bikes, man, they can get at you. It's very hard to get away from them, especially if it's more than one. That's why crime's down. Not because they're talking to vendors and throwing a ball with a little kid. None of that crap. The people they're chasing are repeat offender, hardened young criminals that'll spit a loogie in your face just as well as they say hi to you. That wear hoodies, and you should profile them because they have on hoodies. That wear Pooh Shiesty masks and hoodies and got skinny jeans sagging. And they will kill you over your car. And they will shoot anybody who's near you if they got a beef with you. And those guys don't operate well when there's a bunch of cops teaming through the neighborhood on bikes.
Chief Robert Conti says the areas those programs focused on saw a 20% decrease in violent crime in summer 2021 and an 11% decrease in the fall.
Some of our officers, they caught a robbery. Our officers also made an arrest for an assault. Just from our presence being out there, we've made some great cases.
Police say they don't have the stats yet on the unit's impact, but these officers say they see the success every day.
Well, when the neighborhood and the community ask for you specifically, that's always a good feeling to have. Come on, like, hey, officer, they'll stop, they'll ask you questions, they'll engage with you.
I'd love to be here. I love to engage with the community. If we could make one difference in someone's life, I'm happy with that.
So when communities rattled by violence, they all continue to peddle peace. Now, police say that they will be able to hopefully have some more stats on this particular unit for us by the end of July, because that'll mark 1 year since the unit's creation, so we'll have to follow up with them then.
It's a great program. Quick question for you, Jess. It seems like D.C. has launched a lot of initiatives to deal with the violence.
To deal with sun men. To deal with sun people. Deal with sun teens.
Quick question for you, Jess. It seems like D.C. has launched a lot of initiatives to deal with the violence this year. Can you take us through some of those?
Yeah, well, just last week, the city talked about the Violent Crime Impact Team. They'll be partnering with federal agencies like the DEA, the FBI. Not long before that, they announced the People of Promise program, where they had one team identify about 200 individuals at the highest risk of getting involved in gun violence in D.C., so they're working to partner them with mentors, and we have a whole list of other ones online at WUSA9.com.
And our kids are in crisis. We've reported on far too many becoming victims of gun violence and committing it themselves, so we are dedicating this entire week to exploring the cycle of violence and how the D.C. community is working to end it.
All week, Jess Arnold will introduce you to kids living in fear and groups trying to help them.
We want to start with a mother whose 11-year-old son was shot to death. Jess joins us live in studio. Jess, this is a sad trend that we are continuing to see.
Yeah, Tony, the CDC recently released data showing that guns were the #1 killer of kids in 2020.
Now, it's funny how people can burst into tears and their heart aches when a 49, 53-year-old career criminal, half a whiny old drunk son man is getting arrested and decides to fight with the cops and ends up dead. Everybody's losing their head. People are crying. I mean, half the time it happens in a city you never heard of. Kenosha, Ferguson. I never heard of these places. Sanford, Florida. I never heard of these places before. Okay? And everybody's crying and we got to protest and we got to do more and everybody's emotional. She just said the number one killer of kids, little kids, is guns. And as I showed you earlier, in Washington, D.C., that's exclusively son people, son kids, exclusively. How does this woman not burst into tears hearing that? The number one way children die in this place is from guns? Kids?
Released data showing that guns were the number one killer of kids in 2020. 11-year-old Davon McNeil was one of those children. He was killed by a stray bullet near a cookout on July 4th, 2020. I sat down with his mom and siblings to talk about how they're trying to help each other process that trauma and then do something positive for the community.
Why we always got to do something positive for the community? Why can't they just process their trauma? Why some people always got to give back and do something for the community? We the neediest people, and we get the most. We still gonna complain. You a fool if you do something for some people. They still gonna act like ain't nothing. We a pit. We an endless pit. We just swallow up everything and still be at. And it's almost as if you gave us nothing. You could give DC $50 billion, and at the end of the year, nothing would have changed.
The football field was always an escape for 11-year-old Davon McNeil. That's him running the ball.
He got a ring down here too.
And that's his mom, Crystal McNeil. She's his biggest fan.
He was so happy.
He wanted to go to college and he was going to play for the NFL and take care of his family and buy his mother a house.
Listen, man. A lot of people say, oh, man, listen, man. That's what all these guys want to do. They want to buy their mama a house. Listen, man, that's your dream. You the man of the house. I know it's, because I know it's kind of like messed up, but that's the way it is. You got to meet people where they're at. All them little boys that playing football, they want to buy their mother a house and take care of their family. And it shouldn't be that way. And single mothers and the Moynihan Report and all this crap. But that's the way it is.
He wanted to go to college and he was going to play for the NFL and take care of his family and buy his mother a house.
What could have been?
It's like it happened yesterday.
Davon was shot to death on July 4th, 2020 at a Stop the Violence cookout in Southeast D.C.
Think about that. This woman organized a cookout to stop the violence. And I remember this like it was yesterday when this happened. I did a video on it. I remember like it was yesterday. The kid, they're gone. They left the cookout. He comes back to retrieve a charger. I think he left his phone charger there. He comes back to get his, they pull up. He hops out to go get his charger. And then some fools come through dumping. And he got killed. But just think about that. You're a woman. You live in a war zone. It's a war zone. This the other side where other guys don't walk too much. Okay? You live in a war zone. You organize a cookout, to promote stop the violence. That's the theme of the cookout. And your son gets killed there. Your 11-year-old son gets killed there.
Davon was shot to death on July 4th, 2020 at a Stop the Violence cookout in Southeast D.C. that Crystal organized. When it happened, she was in a car feet away. They rushed to the hospital.
I just kept on saying, Davon, wake up, he won't move. And I started feeling on his body. I always play with his feet. I started touching his feet and everything just was cold. And I would just start asking the doctors, like, why is his body cold? Then I knew my baby was gone.
I can't even imagine how you pick yourself back up.
I be trying my best to stay strong because I have other children.
Like 11-year-old Kayvon, who was also in the car that day.
My best friend. I mean, that's how close we was.
Trauma like that lasts.
Do you feel like it can get better here?
No.
That's Davon's stepbrother, Khalik Lawson.
It's like sometimes I don't like to go outside because they be like chewing and stuff.
A lot of kids, they do need help. Like, I get phone calls like 3 o'clock in the morning. I get DMs asking me like when they gonna be okay. And I don't have the right words for them because I don't know when I'm gonna be okay.
Instead of words, an escape. Crystal just took Davon's siblings and friends to Florida.
It was awesome.
She says she's doing what she can.
I'm still in the same community doing the work where I lost my child at. And I don't get the help and the support like you would think that I should get.
This is just sad, man. This is one of the saddest stories. My God, this is sad. I think that little boy don't mean crap to the majority of sisters and pasty liberals out here. That little boy don't mean crap to none of them compared to some old drunk wino fentanyl addict with a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt, fighting and tussling with cops in the middle of the street after threatening a bunch of store clerks over a fake $20 bill. That guy means more to 99% of people in this community than this little boy and his mama and what they going through. And his little brother.
And I don't get the help and the support like you would think that I should get.
She needs officials and neighbors to step up.
We need more recreation centers. We most definitely need real mental health support for the kids. And they know it too.
As she holds them up, she's leaning on these walls.
Yeah, it's just all his pictures.
Her biggest fan, now standing watch. Now next, Crystal is channeling her grief and energy into building a foundation in honor of Davon. She says it's going to offer mental health services for kids. She hopes to create a center where they can come to play sports and do crafts and really just have a sanctuary somewhere in the city.
You know, we've been following this story for about 2 years. Where does Davon's case stand now, Jess?
Well, 4 men have actually pleaded guilty in the shooting that killed Davon. They have sentencing hearings scheduled for June. And so the family actually plans to be there to protest because they are not happy with the max sentences that are available for these men.
And you're doing this the entire week, right? You'll be on this topic, so important.
Exactly. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to hear more from some kids, including one kid who talks about how friends get involved in shootings and how he tries to keep them out of it.
Wow, important stories.